תסגרי את זה. אוקיי, בסדר, זה בסדר. את לא רואה?
Good afternoon. My name is Efrat. I'm a deputy head nurse in the internal medicine department and clinical care nurse, former employee in the cardiology department in Tel Aviv Medical Center in Israel. I'm very proud to present to you the master research my master research that was dealing with the clinical and functional changes in elderly individuals post-study 30 days after the procedure. So the transcatheter aortic valve implantation, the Tavi procedure has changed the entire cardiology department at our place. First patient started to show on September 2009, and now more than 7 years, we've been done more than 1,000 cases of Tavi procedures. Patients from all across the country are coming to our medical center, and in a department of about 20 beds, about a quarter of the patients are Tavi patients, before and after. There are 3 types of biological valves that we use that are in the market, a big tissue, and there's no need for anesthesiologists in this procedure. There's a local anesthesia that we do in the femoral artery, and the valve is implanted retrograded into the heart. 10 hospitals are performing Tavi in Israel from north to south, and the hospitalization time has been increased and now standing for about 5 days of admission. There is a Tavi registry that was built during the years in our Tel Aviv Medical Center, as well as the National Wild Valve. So severe aortic stenosis, by definition, is 1 square centimeter valve surface area and more than a 40 mmHg pressure gradient over the valve surface. Asymptomatic aortic stenosis holds the mortality of a rate of 40% in the first year and about 60% in 5 years. So aortic stenosis is a very common disease in the elderly population. Over 4% of the 75 years old and more than 5% of the 65 years old are suffering from it all across Europe and in the United States. The mortality risk in AVR operation, traditional and post-operation, is about 30 to 60% by the Euroscope and the logistics score. So the transcatheter aortic valve implantation is a technology that allows the valve to be implanted through catheterization procedure without the need of an open heart surgery and sternotomy. The first implantation was performed in France by Dr. Ellen Crevier in 2002. And the procedure allows the treatment of a population that will not endure a regular and a traditional AVR. We're talking about men and women over 70 years old, patients with severe calcification of the valve leaves. Some of them are suffering from a big speed valve. They're symptomatic. They're suffering from syncope events, angina pectoris, chest pain, tiredness, effort dyspnea, no quality of life, and multiple comorbidities in this age. And they're classified by the NIA classification at stages 3 and 4. Some of them also has the combination of portal and aorta. They're suffering from chest radiology and has a low lung capacity. They are not operable, not whatsoever. So the main goal of this research was to assess the changes in clinical and functional measures in those 75-year-old patients post-Tavi 30 days after the procedure. And the specific goals was to assess the correlation between patient gender and the changes in functional and clinical measures post-Tavi, the correlation between personal status and the changes post-Tavi, and the correlation between residency of the patient who go through Tavi procedure and the changes that they show after the procedure in functional and clinical measures. This was a prospective clinical trial. The data was gathered from the Tavi registry in the Tel Aviv Medical Center and the archives, and patients were supposed to answer this SF-36 quality of life questionnaire 1 month after the procedure. This is all by the authority of the Helsinki committee, the local Helsinki committee of the hospital. So we're talking about 120 patients who performed Tavi procedure in 2014 in our medical center. 8 of them were under the age of 17. That's why they were not included in this research. So the research population is 112 patients. The statistic analysis that was done after the procedure was done for 103 patients due to 7 cases of death during the procedure and up till 1 month, and 2 more cases that were lost to follow-up. So as we can see at that year, the majority who came to do the Tavi procedure, about 60% were female. The main average age was 83, when the oldest lady was 96 at that year, and there were 7 cases of death during the procedure and up till 30 days. Mainly, about 48% were married, and a large percentage, 40% were widows or widowers. About 70% not religious people. When we talk about the Tavi, we know that about 1 to 2% every year we have a percentage of complications. Mostly we see the fever cases up till sepsis and the very well-known arrhythmia, complete AV block. That includes afterwards a permanent pacemaker. We also have the cases of major bleeding and the need for exercise. So the main results that I saw in this research, first of all, is that there is a positive effect appeared to be following Tavi in the clinical measures. And that means NIA class, ejection function, and 6 minutes walk test. And this was by the book. Significant benefit was greater in the women's group over the men's group, and especially in the NIA measure, and you see the p-value here, and in 6 minutes walk test. In general, all patients presented some improvement. In this little table, we can also see the the average distance that the population could have gone through in 6 minutes walk test before the Tavi, and the improvement that they've done in the same test after 30 days. And that's an improvement of more than 30 meters in 6 minutes in 1 month. Women showed significant tendency to return to home, and in general, 9% of the patients were living in nursing homes before Tavi versus 17.5% that came to nursing homes after. Men showed significance in the change of functional status. And this was one of the surprises here, because before of the procedure, about 68% were defined themselves as independent, and that is versus only 42% after the procedure. Also, 32% defined themselves help needed before the procedure versus 57% who were after the procedure. The marriage population showed significant improvement in 6 minutes walk test, along with changes in functional status. All the rest showed significant tendency to return and to live with someone and not to be alone in the first 30 days, mostly moved to nursing homes in the first month. Both groups show significant increase in the need for walking aids like wheelchairs and walking sticks. With no statistical significance improvement of NIA and injection function measures that was shown in patients who returned home versus patients who returned to nursing homes. And 6 minutes walk test measure was significant improvement that was found in patients who returned home versus those who returned to nursing. Significant statistical significance in change of functional status going from independency to a care requirer was shown in those who returned home, along with the increase of working aids versus those who returned to nursing home. So the main conclusions of this research were that there is a positive correlation between Tavi procedure and the changes in clinical measures within the 30 days, and this is by the book and by all the research that is showing the Tavi benefits. Decrease in functional measures may be due to the recovery time. There's more need to be done in a few more weeks, while the improvement in clinical measures is quicker and easier to see. Living in a supportive environment affects the patient conception of his functionality ability, as well as living at home versus living in nursing. And the most important thing is that when those patients are coming, they're afraid, they're elderly people, they usually come by the recommendation of their children, and they want to know how it's going to be, how will be their rehabilitation. And the nurses that receives them must need to emphasize the thing is that the most important thing, that the functional measures may be decreased after Tavi. It should be known that, such as living with someone else, going from independency to a care requirer, or the need for walking aids. And this is along with the approval of the clinical measures. It goes together. So in the end, I want to thank, please, to the Tavi Medical Center, the cardiology department, my internal medicine department, the Hospital Helsinki Committee for improving all of the research, my mentors, Professor Bana and Professor Finkelstein, is doing this procedure every week, my sponsor, Professor Jerry's. Last but not least, I want to thank my partner, Eris Sadiq, for all his help, support, and love for me. I wouldn't have done this without him, so thank you. I love you, and I want to thank you for your feedback.